A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of Newsfirst Weekend, coming to you live from our Newsfirst Centre in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. An earthquake in southwest China has reportedly killed at least 175 people and reduced homes to rubble. The Newsfirst International Desk will have a comprehensive report on this later on in the news, but before that, here's a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Shop gutted by fire in Maharagama. Serious weaknesses in firefighting exposed. Drought-plagued people of Madhurigiriya made to pay for drinking water. UN Refugee Agency says Sri Lanka must stop deporting asylum seekers. Asylum seeker arrivals have increased by 700%. No aid from UNHCR. A statement from the Ministry of External Affairs. Rescue Dhanindra Yashen meets with President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
A major effort was undertaken today to douse a blaze that broke out at a shop in the Maharagama town centre this morning and prevent it from spreading and causing more harm. Now, the firefighting effort was made all the more difficult by the fact that the Maharagama Municipal Council does not have its own fire brigade.
The cause of the fire, which erupted at a shop in the Maharagama town centre at about 10 o'clock this morning, has not been determined as yet.
We were seated below and we saw smoke rising from above. We shouted when we came up and saw everything was in flames.
Owing to the delay in a fire engine arriving at the scene, shop owners attempted to fight the fire themselves.
A weakness in the municipal council is that there is no fire brigade until you get to Dehiwala. We have the mayor here, and what we wish to tell you is that if you cannot get this done, then the only ones we can tell are the gods above.
It is true that there is no fire brigade. When I attempted to introduce a fire brigade, the opposition got together and worked against me. In the end, I could not get it done. I secured a fire engine from abroad for the fire brigade with the authorization of the President. I got permission to import it without duties being imposed, and in the end, the majority raised their hands against this measure. There was nothing I could do.
The blaze was eventually doused in a joint effort of the fire brigades of the Kotte and Dehiwala Mount Lavinia municipal councils.
People of drought-hit areas including Polonnaru and Madhurigiriya are facing economic hardships as they have been made to purchase bottled water. Newsfirst visited these areas to inquire into the people's plight.
Sri Lanka's irrigation system was designed to collect water during the rainy season so it could be dispensed during the dry season. However, at present, while reservoirs overflow in the rainy season, they dry up come the dry season. Villages like Biso Bandara, Madhurigiriya, Pathokwewa and Dansopura are surrounded by reservoirs and lakes. But about 8,000 families in these villages are now reliant on bottled water. Water distribution institutions which operate in the area with the authorization of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board bring water to these villages in bowsers and then sell it to the villagers at a price of 3 to 4 rupees a litre.
We purchase a litre of water wholesale for about ₹1, and then depending on the distance we have to transport it, we sell the water at prices ranging from ₹2 to a maximum of ₹4. We go to all the villages. This is good, clean water, and it is a state-sponsored program. We are not selling it. Given the current state, we have to give people water free of charge. We are carrying out this trade amid many hardships. It has come to a level where people cannot even afford to pay for drinking water. We supply water to about 10 or 15 families every day in whatever way we can.
These villagers start the day waiting for the water bowsers. I have been on the road since before 8 this morning. I have waited and eventually I left. We don't have money to pay for water.
I have been using this for about 3 days now. We purchased water from this vehicle prior to this at 2 rupees a litre.
We are facing severe hardships because we still do not have clean drinking water. We ask that you give us some clean water even if we have to pay for it. We must buy it for money to give our children. We cannot travel far to get water because the drought is everywhere. It is difficult to purchase water because we cannot work on the fields.
Up next is the battle for Oor.
Ooh. 90,000 acres of paddy fields have wilted in a single electorate. This is the destruction that has been wrought on agriculture. This is the reality across the country today. 550 factories in the country have closed down over the past 8 years and they are continuing to close. Roads have been developed, expressways have been built, funds have been allocated to build rural roads, bridges and culverts, reservoirs have been built, harbours and airports have been built. When you take all of it collectively, that represents our future course of economic action.
What did the provincial ministers do for the farming community? But everyone who speaks here says that they have given everything the agrarian community needs. We have always had faith in the farmer and we will always uphold the pride of the farmer. The Oor election will not be a battle for us.
The largest industry in the country was agriculture and it has been reduced from mega to buddy status. Gambling, which was a buddy industry, has been transformed into a mega industry. Industries that can rebuild the nation are being made smaller and are ridden with crises, while industries that can destroy the nation are being made larger. This government gives what should be given where it should be given and does what it must where it must be done. Farmers are given land, water and infrastructure. What does Billasa need? We can give them tackle and they can use it to catch fish. If we give them fish, they will eat it at home and they will be hungry again tomorrow. The Newsfirst crew set off early this morning to visit the people of an extremely rural village in Passara in the Badulla district and inquire into the problems they face.
The primary problem faced by the people of Polgahawela in Passara Badulla is a shortage of water for agriculture. The serene beauty of the environment here has also been lost today. The main cause of the water shortage is a blockage at the Belgolla Mahavelyaya Anicut, which supplies water to about 100 acres of farmland. Over 60 agrarian families have been faced with severe hardships as a result. There has been no water since the day we cultivated the fields. There are many economic problems today. We work in both Yala and Maha seasons, and the coming Maha season we have no water.
We are despondent. We live off the fields and rice and we have lost everything.
After tiring of their efforts to inform the authorities of their plight, the farmers themselves took matters into their own hands and repaired the Anicut with the hope of preserving what crops were left. Incidentally, even the main road granting these villagers access to the outside world is blocked.
A landslide that occurred 3 years ago in Polgahawela, Passara and Badulla blocked the main road providing transportation facilities for the villagers. This is the alternative route that they were given. This road too is now in a dilapidated state.
On rainy days, the alternative road given for villagers from Polgahawela to travel to the Passara town becomes a death trap.
People cannot use the road on rainy days because of landslides. School children walk 4 kilometers on this road. It would be a great relief for the people if this government repairs this.
You're watching News First, and up next is a look at Action TV.
On Friday, Action TV highlighted the plight of a girl who travelled to Saudi Arabia with dreams of building a home for herself and her family of 8, but was made to return to the island and register with a mental health clinic instead a year later. The foreign employment subcontractor who robbed this girl of that dream by sending her abroad in spite of her being underage had prepared the girl's travel documents to show she was born in 1987, when in fact she was born in 1995. The woman who lived in this house in the Nilama area in the Mahaoya scheme in Ampara too had such dreams, given that her husband was disabled. The woman who left for Oman on the 13th of January informed her husband of an incident she was subject to on the 31st of March, when she spoke to him over the phone on the 14th of April.
She cried and told me that her employer had raped her. I was driven to despair, as any man who heard such a thing from his wife would be. I had obtained a bank loan to build the house, and it was when I was about to pay it that I fell off a scaffolding and disfigured my hand. My wife went abroad because we had no way of paying the loan.
Although the husband lodged a complaint with the Foreign Employment Services Bureau on the 16th of April, his wife was only brought to the Sri Lankan embassy in Oman on the 24th of April. Instead of giving priority to taking the woman to the police and lodging a complaint regarding the abuse she had undergone, officers at the safe house at the embassy had instead focused their energies on subjecting the woman to an examination to ascertain if she had become pregnant as a result of the abuse. They presented her before a doctor on 2 occasions for this purpose. Suspicions arise as to the trustworthiness of these medical examinations, since the medical report notes that a male individual was subjected to a pregnancy test. Several days after the examinations, the woman informed her husband of another grievance in her own handwriting. She says that officers at the safe house subjected her to a forced abortion. The contents of this letter are affirmed and given weight by letters written by 2 other Sri Lankan domestic aides who had taken refuge at the safe house. According to these letters, a complaint was eventually lodged with the Omani police regarding the rape of this woman only after the Sri Lankan ambassador in Oman intervened personally. Officials at the safe house had taken care to hide information regarding the woman who had sought refuge there from the ambassador until the 28th of May. Following the complaint lodged by the ambassador, the woman was subject to a judicial medical examination which did not rule out the claim that she had been raped. While the woman in question is still being held at the safe house, the ambassador has been recalled to Sri Lanka.
In truth, I felt that there was a grave threat to my wife's life. What I did after that was to inform the UN Refugee Agency and the United Nations. I am afraid now, since the ambassador is not there anymore either.
Has a safe house been established at the Sri Lankan embassy in Oman in order to provide assistance to ensure justice for Sri Lankan citizens there when they face injustice, or to turn the very concept of justice on its head? Secretary to the Ministry of External Affairs, this is over to you.
The courts have granted permission for the 4 suspects who were arrested in connection to the kidnapping of Danidu Yashin Lankanath to be detained and interrogated. The police media spokesperson added that the suspects were produced before the courts last evening, following which detention orders were issued. Investigations to identify case items were carried out throughout the day. President Mahinda Rajapaksa met with Danidu Yasin, the boy who was recently kidnapped and then rescued this afternoon.
Young Danidu Yasin arrived at Temple Trees this afternoon, accompanied by his relieved parents, to meet with the President. The presidential media unit says President Rajapaksa inquired after the boy's well-being and also presented him with a memento.
Taking a look at another one of our headline-making stories, The UN Refugee Agency UNHCR says Sri Lanka must stop deporting Pakistani asylum seekers, claiming it is a practice banned under international law. Reuters news agency quoting UNHCR reports that Sri Lanka began arresting asylum seekers and refugees on the 9th of June and has since detained 214 Pakistanis and Afghans in 2 asylum centres. However, Sri Lanka's Ministry of External Affairs noted that the asylum seekers are being encouraged to return in the vital security interests of Sri Lanka and the region.
The UN Refugee Agency says that Sri Lanka deported 18 asylum seekers in the past 2 days, with another 10 deportations expected today. UNHCR adds that the repatriations breached a no forced return principle. It said, quote, "This principle is binding on all states and precludes them from sending asylum seekers and refugees to a country where their life or freedom would be threatened," unquote. However, in a statement on its website, the Ministry of External Affairs said the influx of illegal migrants in the past year had become a burden on state resources and potentially compromised state and regional security. The ministry said the number of refugees or asylum seekers had risen by 700% in the 2013-2014 period, and that by the 30th of June, there were 1,562 asylum seekers and 308 refugees. The ministry attributed the increase in numbers to, quote, "people falling victim to commercially driven human trafficking networks which abuse a liberal visa policy," unquote, as well as a slowdown in the number of refugees resettled in other countries since 2012. The ministry also said the UNHCR had not helped Sri Lanka to speed up the process of dealing with refugees and asylum seekers and had not provided financial help or housing. The MEA adds that some applications for resettlement of refugees in third countries have been pending for 5 years. Furthermore, the Ministry of External Affairs notes that a state cannot be expected to carry a burden of this nature for an indefinite period of time.
Australia's Immigration Minister Scott Morrison has denied claims that a group of 157 asylum seekers, reportedly of Sri Lankan origin, were denied access to lawyers before being transferred to the offshore detention centre in Nauru. The group of men, women and children left India by boat and were intercepted and held at sea for almost a month before being sent to the Cocos Islands and then to Curtin Detention Centre in Western Australia. The group was then sent to Nauru after they all declined to talk to Indian officials about returning to the port they departed from.
Lawyers representing the 157 asylum seekers yesterday accused the Australian government of trafficking the group and said they were not given the chance to talk to their lawyers about their options before they were moved to Nauru. But Immigration Minister Scott Morrison told Australia's public broadcaster ABC that they had access to lawyers before they rejected the chance to talk to the Indian officials.
It's not true to say that there was no access to lawyers. I think it was on the 29th of July, the leaders of that group, who were the appointed plaintiffs in that case, had access to their lawyers, and there was a discussion, and following those discussions, 157 people coincidentally decided not to take up that offer.
He said that he is confident that 2/3 of the majority were long-term residents of India.
And they'd been resident in refugee camps, those camps that are set up in Tamil Nadu and in other villages across Tamil Nadu. And they had been at schools, they had been engaged living there with family. We had teenagers who were on that ship who were born in India.
Leader of Australia's opposition Labour Party, Bill Shorten, says there has been too much secrecy around the group's treatment. Shorten told the ABC, quote, "Every time it gets a bit hard, this government goes missing. I think the government needs to come clean on everything that's happened with this matter, everything that's transpired with their negotiations with the Indian government," unquote.
Welcome back to the news. You are watching Newsfirst Weekend. The Consumer Affairs Authority has decided to reward persons who provide correct information on large-scale rackets that violate consumer laws. Chairman of the authority, Rumi Marsuk, noted that the identities of informants will be protected. What are your rights as a consumer?
Are you aware that there are a set of rules and regulations in place to protect consumers in Sri Lanka? Newsfirst decided to delve deeper into the matter. A Consumer Protection Act was introduced in order to prevent consumers from coming to harm and uphold their rights. As per this act, it is compulsory for the vendor to display prices of items being sold. Also included in the regulations are the provision of a guarantee period for electronic appliances, following maximum retail prices, possessing a standard certificate, printing the dates of manufacture and expiry, and printing the net weight of the product. Although consumers are charged for shopping bags in some instances, vendors are in fact prohibited from doing so as per the Consumer Protection Act. Consumers are also able to request a receipt for any purchase.
If an injustice has happened to you personally, a written complaint can be made. A complaint can be lodged with the Consumer Affairs Authority if expired products are repackaged and if the price of the product has been altered.
Consumers can lodge complaints with the Consumer Affairs Authority on the hotlines 0112 399 146 and 1977.
Up next is our special segment on development initiatives across the island, The Better Tomorrow.
The Urban Development Authority has identified 5 major problems in the development of the Colombo city. A major problem that is identified is that about 50% of the total population lives in houses with meager facilities and in slums. Mihidu Senpur was initiated as a solution to this problem. 3,000 individuals were given residences in 500 houses built in 2 buildings. Each housing unit consists of a living area, 2 bedrooms, pantry and a balcony with all amenities including proper sanitary facilities. In addition, the complex established on a 4-acre plot of land comprises of public areas, elevators, parking facilities and a sports ground.
We have got the residents of this area here. The specialty of this project is that we always try to provide the individuals with a house where they already live. The
objective of a project of this nature is to provide individuals of low-income earning families a better tomorrow.
In business news this evening, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka says that the controversial Central Investment and Finance PLC or CIFL has been included in the financial sector consolidation plan for banks and non-bank financial institutions. The Central Bank notes that CIFL was not included in the plan owing to court proceedings.
It was proposed through the 2014 budget to reduce the number of licensed finance and leasing companies in the country from the current 58 to 20. Issuing a press release, the CBSL notes that the financial sector consolidation plan was progressing successfully at the end of July. The CBSL notes that during the month, the Court of Appeal dismissed the stay order issued against the CIFL restructuring process. Consequently, the company has now been included within the master plan for consolidation and the necessary action is due to be taken in the coming months to restructure the company in accordance with a new plan that has to be developed. The recent collapse of CIFL led to protests from a large group of depositors. The CBSL notes that thus far 57 MBFIs and 12 banks have submitted plans for mergers and acquisitions and infusion of capital. The central bank also announced that it has rescinded the license of a company that did not agree to the consolidation plan. Furthermore, the CBSL notes that the IMF too, in its recent Article 4 mission report, praised the financial sector consolidation plan.
A problematic situation has arisen with regard to a road development project in the Naguda area. Area residents staged a protest in this regard against the authorities.
Area residents staged a protest today stating that the road from Nagoda to Nabada has not been developed properly. Residents of the Bombawala area in Kaluthura staged this protest near the Bombawala public grounds. The protesters pointed out that the road was not properly broadened. The protesters went on to say that their paddy land was taken over, stating that the road would be broadened to 37 feet. However, the road is only 33 feet wide. We want them to be transparent and let everyone know how wide the road is and what is the cost incurred in this project. So far, it was not done properly.
We want this road to be developed according to the initial estimate.
Minister Reginald Kuret, who arrived at the scene of the protest. Thereafter, the protesters engaged in their demonstration while blocking the road. The group dispersed after the police announced that the district secretary has asked them to come for a discussion tomorrow.
Newsfirst has reported on many hardships faced by the general public. Now, have these problems been solved, or are they still problems without solutions? Up next, our special segment, Is It Solved?, where Newsfirst revisits stories that we have reported on.
Newsfirst made a revelation on the 3rd of July that 600 agrarian families in the Sungavilla Nishanka Ala area are facing hardships after the dam belonging to the Mala Oya and the Minneri Oya was destroyed by illegal sand miners. The dam has been reconstructed by the sand miners subsequent to the revelation. However, sand mining continues despite the orders of the police. Newsfirst reported on the hardships faced by the residents of the Valikatoa village in Madulla Monaragala on the 9th of last month. The area residents did not receive water and common amenities. The Electricity Board has carried out a basic survey to figure out the requirements to provide a new electricity line to the residents of Valikatoa village. Newsfirst also reported on hardships faced by around 200 families living in the Monragala Hulandavat Tissapura village after not receiving water, electricity and a proper road to commute. This too was reported on the 9th of last month. The Monragala Pradesh Sabha has taken steps to provide the village with the requirements. The road will be gravelled and the bus route will be extended. Steps will be taken to provide electricity by the end of this year. The foundation stone was laid for a major water project in the Kumbukono Oya yesterday. This zone also falls under that area covered by the project and will conclude in 30 months. Newsfirst reported on individuals commuting over the Kaluganga on a boat because of the unavailability of a bridge from the Dumbara Thotupola area to the Panadura Ratnapura road. In the revelation made on the 21st of last month, Newsfirst reported that the boatman has decided to stop transporting individuals over the river because of his old age. The chairman of the Ayagama Pradesh Sabha has promised to take steps to build a bridge in the said location within 3 months. The residents of the area are still using the boat to commute over the river until the bridge is constructed.
Well, England cemented their position on the top of the medals table on the final day of the Commonwealth Games taking place in Glasgow. Now, India is currently placed in 5th thanks to squash players Deepika Pallikal and Yoshana Chinnappa, who registered that triumph earlier today.
Deepika Pallikal and Yoshana Chinnappa represented India in the finals of the women's doubles squash event and recorded a comprehensive 2-0 victory over their English opponents. Incidentally, this is India's first squash gold in the history of the Commonwealth Games. The Jamaican team, anchored by sprinter Usain Bolt, cruised to victory in the 4x100 meters men's relay at the Commonwealth Games, winning Bolt his first Commonwealth gold. The Jamaicans set a new Games record with a time of 37.58 seconds. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka's Vasana Pereira and Jayasinghe Ratnayaka were defeated in the para sports powerlifting event in the 72 kg weight class. Nigeria's Paul Kehinde won gold, while compatriot Roland Ezurike won silver. England's Ali Jawad won bronze.
Now, several Sri Lankan athletes also took to the arena on the final day of the 2014 edition of the Commonwealth Games. Now, new sports person Washan Watawala is in Glasgow, Scotland, and he joined us earlier with this brief.
Marga Papa Didavana Tarangavali Kanta.
Sri Lanka's Dinesha Dilrukshi and Yudi Sriyalata participated in the women's road cycling event today. If the gap between the first cyclist and other cyclists in the event is greater than 10 minutes, then those at the back are removed from the event. Accordingly, Dinesha Dilrukshi and Yudi Sriyalata did not manage to make it among the top cyclists.
Mama Roshan Priya Watawala, Glasgow Nagare Sita.
Well, England are leading with 58 gold medals, with Australia trailing with 47 gold medals. Now, a notable highlight on the final day of Glasgow 2014 was that Australia won the gold medal by defeating New Zealand in the women's netball finals, making them the Commonwealth champions. Now, Australia are the world champions and are world #1 in netball. They defeated New Zealand 58 to 40. And cementing their place in the medals tally as second, 12 with Canada in 32, Scotland with 19 gold medals and India with 14 gold medals.
Thank you, Zulfik, for that comprehensive update. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of News First Weekend. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudannayak. Good night.